This is Kate Baconsale. You're listening to Baconsale.
Gentlemen, are you ready to begin your quest? It's going to be long and difficult. I am a magical sorcerer.
Okay.
And I'm sending you to determine which movie is better.
Okay.
Labyrinth or NeverEnding Story?
Ooh.
Oh, thank you, Christopher Lambert.
Question.
Make your decision.
Question, magical wizard creature.
Yes.
What's your name?
Henry.
We should definitely do improv night.
I love this. Welcome to Baconsale, everyone. I'm Joel.
Can I call you Hank? My name's Kent.
And Henry.
Oh, man. Thank you for listening to our 90s alternative one-hit wonder bracket that we did. Brackets. The part 2 that we did last time. One of my favorite reactions we got from people was, I hated most of the decisions you made, but you landed in a pretty good place. I'm okay with the win.
I was actually pretty surprised by all the approval that we got.
Well, do you know what it is?
Waiting for a lot of
I think
backlash.
people want to care, and then they think twice about the songs, and they say, yeah, I don't really care that much.
I feel like we went through that too.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if we would have just handed it to the cold hard facts winner, or the one that everyone says, it wouldn't have been as fulfilling.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, we kind of went someone down in the middle, which is also where some of the complaints came too. Is it was like we weren't strictly personal preference. We were kind of, and we weren't strictly Billboard either.
But I mean, the way we do Baconsale, you have to realize we are
Yeah.
not a scientific show. This is not Radio Lab or anything.
I know, that's-
This is an opinion show, and we wanted to have it be like a conversation you've had with your buddies, where you sit around and talk about, okay, this song and this song, which one's better? You just argue it out. And
Yeah,
some people are going to pull out facts, some people are going to pull out opinions, but in the end, it's a conversation.
I mean, and honestly, like,
And it ends in a wrestling match.
and should
Like every episode of Baconsale.
a literal one.
We're going to have ours after,
Where
right,
Kent
guys?
steamrolls us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it would be very different. I
You
think
didn't have
it'd
to
be
wear
really
a unitard during the recording, Jacob, though. It's for after.
so comfortable. So no, like personal preference, I think it would look a lot different, and it would be a lot
Yeah.
of fun to see that as well. But anyway,
yeah.
Too bad. The winners have been decided.
They
Yes. Also, exciting news, in case you didn't make it all the way to the end of the last show, we have a store. We have a store.
We do.
And not just any store, a new store.
A new
where
store.
we sell amazing merchandise like mugs and stickers and phone cases and shirts and pillows. Tapestries, I think, was on there.
yeah. You said phone cases and
Yes, I did.
bumper stickers?
Yeah. But if you go to teepublic.com/baconsale, it's teepublic.com/baconsale, you can see all our merch. And they're actually, they do sales quite often, I found. Like there was a Black Friday sale that happened. There was a Cyber Monday sale. I went on today and there was a 25% off sale. So go check it
They're
out.
really good about that, honestly.
And it's not just like T-shirts, like your standard T-shirts that you order, and you're like, doesn't
Yeah,
feel
they
very
have,
good.
like, some cool different
They
ones,
have
yeah.
soft T-shirts,
and like baseball shirts.
yeah.
right?
So if
like
you
the
want to get
three-quarter length
if you want to
shirts.
get hashtag Can't Cares on a soft T-shirt,
Or hashtag family friendly.
Nobody wants that.
hey,
What? I
cares?
own one. Okay.
Aw,
Yeah.
Team Kent,
Yeah, team.
yeah,
What?
Yeah, I have my fingers crossed.
That's great going into a versus show with Team Kent over here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jake.
Am I going to decide at the end who wins?
Thanks,
No.
thanks, Henry.
This is going to be one of our traditional versus shows. We haven't done since episode 87. I guess, that was the Die Hard versus Lethal Weapon. Was
That
probably the
long
last one we
ago?
did. Yeah. That was probably the last true
Is it
versus
because we
did.
brought in guests?
We brought in guests. The three-way versus is a little more interwoven.
Okay.
Where it's just you and I battling it out.
I miss it.
That only really happens when Kent and I have a conversation and we realize that we have a disagreement point that we didn't know the other person had. So we're talking about, like, obviously you think this way. And Kent goes, no, I don't think that way. What? Versus!
Yeah, and so we decide to bore everyone with our little fights.
But we always try to keep it at least
Welcome
things
to
that...
Baconsale.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly.
Our little bore you. Baconsale, we'll bore you with our little fights.
We will go so far over the top with information about NeverEnding Story and Labyrinth, like more facts than you ever even knew existed about these two movies will be brought up in this show in the coming hour.
But when you talk to children of the 80s, for example, about the shows that scarred them / entertained them the most, Labyrinth and NeverEnding Story are two of the ones that pop up most of the time.
Yeah.
And there are other ones that we could have included.
Dark Crystal.
Like the Lesser Dark Crystal. Or
Legend.
The Lesser Legend or the Lesser Willow. And if we do any of that, then, we do that down the road maybe. But we felt like Labyrinth and NeverEnding Story were more comparable. It was about a kid being brought into a magical world, a human kid being brought into a magical world and having adventures therein.
Yeah.
So, but then we found out that Kent was wrong and liked NeverEnding Story more.
We'll see.
And I was right and liked Labyrinth more.
Huh. It's funny that you say Willow's lesser, because
Yes.
Willow's probably a lot better
No.
than Labyrinth. And
No.
by that, I mean it is.
It's not. I just watched
You
all
think
these
it's better
fairly
than both?
recently. My wife is in camp. My wife is in Camp Willow, and she showed it to our kids recently. And I had child services on the phone, just ready to call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Look, this argument's going to come up later. Child services should only be there when you're watching Labyrinth.
No, it's a fun children-friendly movie.
All right. You're getting into it a little too fast. We have some categories, some general guidelines of discussion that I'm going to go through.
Let's give some brief facts and stats, Kent. I'll start with Labyrinth. It is alphabetical order, and it's the better movie.
You're so cute.
Thank you. Labyrinth came out.
It's the bow.
June 27th, 1986. Directed by Jim Henson, who also directed The Great Muppet Caper and The Dark Crystal. His only features were those three. It's a British-American adventure musical dark fantasy film. Executive produced by George Lucas. And here's the synopsis. A 16-year-old girl is given 13 hours to solve a labyrinth and rescue her baby brother when her wish for him to be taken away is granted by the Goblin King. Starring Jennifer Connelly.
Curse you, Goblin King.
Yes.
Gosh.
The NeverEnding Story was released in 1984, was directed by Wolfgang Peterson, stars Noah Hathaway, Bear Oliver, and Tammy Stronach.
The actors are pretty forgettable already. Go on.
Oh, please.
I've got Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie. Okay, this is in the bag for me in regard to powerhouse actors.
Powerhouse actors at this point.
Yes.
It's kind of relative.
Okay.
It's really relative. You want to get to acting already? Let's not do this yet.
No.
Okay, can I talk about my movie?
And facts.
Yeah.
This is why I love verses.
Joel loves pushing my buttons.
Yes.
Just by saying, I'm right. But anyways, NeverEnding Story.
I'm right.
Great movie. And soundtrack done by Limal.
By who?
Limal.
Lim Hall.
Same thing.
The lead singer of Kajagoogoo.
Limal. Kajagoogoo.
Yeah.
Kajagoogoo?
Yeah.
Where was he on our bracket?
That's 80s.
The story, if we're going to just keep it really simple, is a troubled boy dives into a wondrous fantasy world through the pages of a mysterious book.
Bum, bum, bum. All right. So there are some cold, hard facts for you. We decided to give that, in case you didn't know what these movies were and what they're about, this is kind of giving the flavor
If
of each
people
one of them.
don't know either of these movies, don't listen to our show anymore.
I think they should. Anymore?
Anymore.
Like ever again?
Like, I feel like,
that's
I feel like it's a prerequisit to know these movies in order to enjoy us.
A lot
on
of
the
people,
show.
Or is it just a sign of elevated taste? Who knows?
No.
I think it could be.
It's growing up
these
in the
are-
right era, or at least visiting that era.
Well, and I think it's that if you haven't seen those movies, this is very much nostalgic for people who did see them.
You need to say this is an invitation, not
But
get out
I
of here.
think Kent and I would both agree that if you watch these as an adult, it's not going to have the same magic as if you grew up on them.
Very true.
Would you agree with that, Kent?
Nope.
He doesn't agree with anything. And every time
I'll agree
you
with
know
that.
what I noticed?
I'll agree with that because
Thank
the
you,
ones
Jacob.
I've watched as an adult, I'm like,
hashtag
how
Team
the
Jacob.
crap
You're
did I
talking
even
to the
like that?
80s Grinch over here, Mr. Lord Henry.
Remember when he wanted to take us on the Grinch gets rid off the red-nosed reindeer?
Yeah.
I will win that.
And I said it was like a
hands down.
toddler entering a boxing ring. Oh, man. Good
Sorry,
times.
Jake.
Yeah.
I had your back on that one.
I'm Mike
Yeah.
Tyson on that one.
No, and also I realized I went back and listened to some of our Versus show, which if you go to baconsale.com, there's tags on every episode. And you could click on Versus and see all our Versus shows in the tags. And one of the things I noticed almost every one of these shows, I'm like, Kent, I think you and I can both agree that we both like these shows. And you're like, nope. Okay.
No, I know where you're going with this. In fact, I had a blast watching both of these movies, and that's why I say that.
You did watch them recently.
Yeah, over this weekend.
Me too.
Yeah, and I was actually watching them, and I'm like, yeah, they belong where they were.
Did you watch them with your kids?
No.
Okay.
He didn't want to
I
scar
wouldn't
him.
let my kids watch one of them.
I was able to rent out a theater so I could fit all my kids
Which
in one
one?
room.
You know which one.
I rented out a theater so I could fit all my kids in one room.
Yeah.
And I watched this together with them just so I could gauge their interest from a kid
Were
level
they, hold on,
versus my
were
level.
they all asleep by the end?
Only one of them ended up not making. No, two of them made it, the two youngest didn't make it to the end of either one of these.
So 98% of them made
No,
it.
they made it through Labyrinth. They didn't make it through NeverEnding Story.
Okay.
But it was late. So
Kids, it's 1:30.
anyway,
You have to watch these movies.
All right.
Jacob's going to guide us whenever Kent and I get off in the weeds by bringing us back to some sort of discussion point.
I like the weeds.
I want to talk, since we started with facts, I want to stick there just a little bit longer and talk about box office performance. So tell me about that.
So Labyrinth's box office performance, I'm going to be very upfront about this. It was not successful in theaters. In fact, it bombed in theaters. It had a budget of $25 million, and during the run of the box office, it was released in over 1,000 theaters, but the box office was only $12 million, almost $13 million. So it didn't make,
But
almost made half
if
of their
you do
budget.
adjust that for inflation, that is $27 million.
Yeah, which is good, but still, it didn't make
It's a bomb.
its money back, and that actually really hit Jim Henson pretty hard.
Widely considered a flop.
Widely considered as a flop at the box office.
Whereas NeverEnding Story.
But
Oh, is there a
I
but?
have my but. But
because
it found its audience on VHS and DVD and became a cult classic after the fact once it left theaters.
never made its money back. NeverEnding Story made $20,158,000. Adjusted for inflation, $45 million. Came out 2 years before Labyrinth.
That's really not that much different. I mean,
It's not 20 million more?
15 million more.
Do you
said
remember what
45.
time it was? This wasn't the
we're not
time.
adjusting for inflation here. Like straight up numbers, it's 12 versus 20.
Yeah, 12 versus 20.
Yeah. 12
This,
million
and
versus 20.
remember, this
we'll
is
round
the
up to-
time
we'll round up
before
to 13 million.
This is the time before $200 million earners at the box office. This was 84 and 86.
But and that's the thing is like I know that Labyrinth didn't do well in the theaters, but it found a huge success and it became a cultural
You say
influence
that like
on VHS
no
and DVD.
80s fantasy movie did that. They all did that, Joel.
Well, they all kind of flopped.
All right. Well, aside from money, though, what about critics?
Critical reviews. Both of these movies, if I may speak for both of us, have a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Like they both have the exact same rating on IMDb.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
And I went, oh, okay, because I knew if I brought up the Rotten Tomatoes, that Ken would be like, what's that site? What's that site? So on Rotten Tomatoes, Labyrinth has a 68%. It is fresh. Kent?
I don't know.
On what?
Oh, okay.
I chose not to look at NeverEnding Story's Rotten Tomatoes.
Because both of them came out before Rotten Tomatoes was invented, and Kent hates that when they retroactively rate movies.
I actually do.
I do have notes on NeverEnding Story, if I may. So NeverEnding Story has an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. So better, but then also it has...
it's like, no, cold hard facts. This one falls.
I'm just going facts here. So Labyrinth standing by itself was 68. This is
But I'm going to give it a little
82.
pass because it gets a participation trophy.
But there's also NeverEnding Stew, which has an average has 14%, so that averages out to about 46%. And then NeverEnding Story 3 doesn't even have a score, which would knock it down to 32% average.
And this
between the
actually
two
works
movies.
against you, though, because the higher the Rotten Tomatoes ranking, the worse the movie sometimes for you.
That's probably true, actually.
You're like, basically, this is Thor Ragnarok.
Hey, Joel,
of
can I ask
these
you a
two.
question?
Yeah.
What rating did the sequel to Labyrinth get?
There's no sequel to Labyrinth.
Oh, interesting.
Because it is standalone and didn't need
because it didn't
additional
make
sequels.
any money, and so they could never.
Oh, NeverEnding
finance
Story
it.
2 and NeverEnding Story 3 were terrible.
Look, two was okay.
Kent, they're currently working on a sequel to Labyrinth. A spin-off, if you will.
Joel, David Bowie's dead. I'm really sorry to tell you this.
So is Falkor.
You should have actually gone for the other one if you wanted to get the heartstrings.
I can't
No,
remember the horse's name.
okay, so if you want,
But Jake,
interesting,
can I?
I just this isn't
What do you
a
have?
barter.
The
This isn't
critic?
a,
Is this stay on the same?
this isn't a
tangent?
versus, but it was more about the actors that we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want an interesting look at the actors, because if you look at Jennifer Connelly or David Bowie in now pictures versus then pictures,
David Bowie's dead.
I know. I realized that when I
It
said
really
that.
doesn't look good now.
No, stop. But no, go look up Barrett
Roger Ebert
Barrett
bad,
Oliver.
you know?
That's him, right? Barrett Oliver.
Barrett Oliver, yes.
Go look him up. He looks completely different. Like
Yes.
he's got a little punch and he's bald and he's got a beard and dreadlocks. It's bizarre. He doesn't look anything like himself. And Noah Hathaway, who played Atreyu. I should mention Barrett Oliver played Bastion. Noah Hathaway. He's actually a tattoo artist now, and he looks pretty
Like a tough guy, like from
like a
Jersey,
tough guy. Like,
basically.
he bulked up, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ken, go on with your point. I just wanted to bring it up. Look up Barrett Oliver.
So I didn't look at Rotten Tomatoes, but I did look at Siskel and Ebert, their reviews. And so I have some excerpts from, let's do the review of Labyrinth. So
I had this quote too, but I was going to read it.
So Roger Ebert says, "This movie is too long. Without a strong plotline to pull us through, all movies like this run the danger of becoming a series of incidents. There's no structure to the order of adventures. Sarah does this, she does that, she's almost killed here, almost trapped there, until at last, nothing much matters. Great energy and creativity went into construction, production, and direction of this movie, but it doesn't have a story that does justice to the production. 2 out of 4. Siskel was really harsh on both of these movies, honestly.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you have this for both?
No, yeah, I kind of left off the ones that were.
So
not
he says,
terrible.
it's been said many times before in this space that the sight of a baby in peril is one of the sleaziest gimmicks a film can employ to gain our attention. But Henson does it, and that's almost unimaginable considering the enormous amount of good he has contributed through Sesame Street.
Do you know what else Roger Ebert hated? Usual Suspects.
Oh, Kevin Spacey?
Yeah.
Maybe someone is advising him that you should have to be more
Tommy
violent
Boy.
He knew.
to grab the movie's audience attention. If so he's saying if you want someone to be violent, if so, that someone should be forced to watch Labyrinth 24 hours a day for a month. And it just keeps going. It's like
They were
he makes
not
fun of
kind to
David
it.
Bowie, and then he says,
And we all know that Kent agrees with Roger Ebert and Siskel all the time.
And then he also says, and here's the thing, it matters little that Henson rips off Lucas's Wookiee, because Lucas produced the movie, character to help the young girl, played by the forgettable Jennifer Connelly, to find her baby brother. And then his last line is, what an enormous waste of talent and money is Labyrinth. 1 star. Isn't that so harsh?
It's very harsh.
Like, I was like, Siskel, come on. Like, this movie... And I struggle from this as a critic, too. Like, this movie's not made for you. Lighten up a little bit.
Well, and I think I actually have the note here about how a lot of critics didn't like this movie, but it's because they didn't have the magic in their heart anymore.
Well, they've seen the story a few times before. So Ebert, about NeverEnding Story.
It's children's fantasy, so they're not exactly going to go for Dostoevsky.
So Roger Ebert says, and this is NeverEnding Story, the idea of a story within a story is one of the nicest touches in NeverEnding Story.
How many times did he say the word story in that review?
I know, right? Well, it has a great story. Another one is the idea of a child's faith being able to change the course of fate. Maybe not since the kids in the audience were asked to save Tinkerbell and Peter Pan has the outcome of a story been left so clearly up to a child's willingness to believe. But the NeverEnding Story is about, and once again, story, is about the unfolding of a story, and so the framing device of the kid hidden in the school attic, breathlessly turning the pages, is interesting. It lets kids know that the story isn't just somehow happening, that storytelling is a never-ending act of imagination. 3 out of 4.
Wow.
That is long-winded.
That's very
long-winded, but kind of beautiful and sums up a lot.
Yeah, and as much as Siskel and Ebert loved it, guess who hated it? The author of NeverEnding Story. He hated.
I swore you were going to say Roger Ebert's corpse there.
No. Michael Ende was the author of NeverEnding Story, and he was so unhappy with the film version, he refused to have his name in the opening credits, and then he sued the filmmakers and lost in the end.
Wow.
He called the film a gigantic melodrama of kitsch, commerce, plush, and plastic.
Yeah, and they actually split up that book because it's 1 and 2. NeverEnding Story 1 and 2 are actually just from the same book.
Yeah, the movie ends halfway through the book. Like, there's still a whole other part to it.
No, but you're right. I'm actually glad you brought up the author thing, because do you know who hated Labyrinth? The original author, Maurice Sendak, because he sued Labyrinth and told them to stop.
This happened with both of them?
No, so yeah.
Maurice Sendak was not the author of Labyrinth.
The plot of Labyrinth was so close to one in Sendak's Outside Over There. So remember the guy
So
did
keep
Where
in
the
mind,
Wild
this is the
Things
guy
Are.
who claims they ripped off my story, not the actual author of the movie.
Let's see why. The movie is loosely based on Outside Over There, a children's picture book written and illustrated by Sendak. The story follows young Ida, who must enter the fantastical world described as Outside Over There to find her baby sister, who's been spirited away by some goblins.
Now, see, that seems to be more folklore than actual movie. This movie was created with Brian Froud, who is an English fantasy illustrator, who created these books. And then him and Jim Henson were talking when they were doing The Dark Crystal, which is also based on Froud's works. And they said, hey, let's do a movie. So it has nothing to do with your guy.
I'm sorry. Jim Henson acknowledges his debt to the works of Maurice Sendak, in quotes.
Well, I mean, he's going to have inspirations, but he didn't rip off the story.
It's basically both. Both
Kent,
were based off
let's
stories.
Not speak
and they
ill
changed
of Jim
them.
Henson, okay?
I will on this one. Yeah.
Jim Henson?
He dropped the ball on this one. This
No,
is his
he
final
didn't.
directed movie. By the way,
No.
not a great director, great puppeteer, great mind. His movies, not super good.
I love The Great Muppet Caper.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's the only Muppet movie he actually directed?
Yeah.
I think it's one of the lesser.
No.
Yeah, no, you have Muppet
we got
Christmas Carol.
Muppets Take Manhattan is lesser. Muppet Treasure
Caper?
Island is lesser. Yeah, Caper. It goes Muppet Movie, Muppet Caper, The Muppets, Muppet Christmas Carol.
No way. Dude, he has Christmas Carol way above Muppet Caper.
But that's not what we're talking
agree
about
with
today.
But no, I thought it was interesting that like both original authors sued, and I think both eventually stopped,
Well,
right?
no, okay. One original author sued. One guy claimed that they ripped off his story and sued.
You know what? One movie actually paid the author to make their movie. The other one stole it from his story
Not
and
even
didn't
close.
give credit.
Jim Henson and Brian Froud.
All right,
created
let's
Labyrinth.
go on. Why don't you guys talk about the better songs and music?
Oh, yes.
This is the best part of the whole thing, honestly.
So I obviously have the upper hand in this, Ken. So why don't you go first?
So Joel's song never charted. Magic Dance never charted.
What do you mean never charted?
It did in 2016.
No, the album. The David Bowie had an entire Labyrinth album, and it reached number 68 on the Billboard 200. Where did NeverEnding Story's album go?
All right, so are we talking like main song or are we talking soundtracks on this one?
Well, see, I have main songs. I have multiple songs I could pull from. You have songs.
This is general. This is music and songs.
This is
the whole
score.
thing.
This is songs. This is the whole shebang.
See, I would actually argue, and you're going to try to argue against it, that you have a song and you have a lot of filler songs.
No, I have songs.
You have Magic Dance.
No,
the
I
other
have-
songs suck, Joel.
I have Magic Dance, Underground, Chilly Down, As the World Falls Down.
Hold on. How does Magic Dance go? How good is this song?
Dance, magic dance, magic dance, magic dance, magic.
That's the best
I
song.
always thought
That's one of the funner ones.
that's the only fun song.
No, because then you get chilly down with the fogging. Let's go with the fogging.
Turn around. Look at what you see in her face.
In her face?
The mirror of your dreams.
You should have said in your face.
What did it was?
It's
Was
in
it
your
saying
face,
in your face
too.
to me?
It's in her face.
In her face.
So I would actually say it's song versus song, soundtrack versus soundtrack.
As
because
the world falls down. That's a great song.
so the soundtrack for
It's only forever.
by the way, that song plays twice at the beginning of the movie.
It's not
has
hot.
nothing to do with the
you
whole
mean
movie.
like a reprise?
A reprise right in the opening credits and then playing again? That's the
At the end,
laziest thing
at
ever.
the beginning, at the end.
No,
That's a bookend.
Joel, beginning of the movie, opening credits, and then beginning scene, they play the song again.
Right.
Do you know why? Because all they had was synthesizer.
No one can blame you for walking away.
You're singing this like it's a good song.
It
it's
is.
not. The music, the
is.
score in NeverEnding Story is beautiful. The scenes like when they finally see
Bam, 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 bam.
could you be
Look, it's the
more
castle.
annoying?
It's synthesized awfulness.
Here's your synthesizer.
That was harsh.
It's a Bog of Eternal Stench.
Wait a minute.
I am not kidding you.
You can't
I
bash
thought it
on
was
Trevor Jones's score, okay?
Oh, I just did. It's hideous.
No, it's great.
So
It's
let me to read some
beautiful.
Amazon reviews on both of these soundtracks.
You realize how he just abandoned his. He was going to talk about the moment when they see the castle, but once he heard my spot on rendition of the score, he backed away because he realized it was dumb.
Oh,
No,
it's a bog.
like, Oh wait, is the castle up there?
Anyone who's seen the movie knows that you're being ludicrous right now because it's a beautiful
Ludacris
score.
did not have anything to do with either one of these movies.
Yeah, it was Tupac. Get real.
I got NeverEnding Stories. Anyway, so the Amazon review by Eric in 2016.
Why would you say who it's by?
Why are you pulling out random?
He says it's a 5-star review, and he says, I love this soundtrack, one of the best I've ever listened to. Whereas an Amazon review by
Eric.
Sly in 2013 for Labyrinth, she says, this was not for me, but a gift.
This is funny though.
This is not for me, but a gift. Never heard from the granddaughter, so I don't know how she liked it. But guess she did, since she asked specifically for it.
That's great.
No, I think that actually was a 5-star review on that one.
No, and okay, full confession, I own NeverEnding Story. I actually really think it's a good song.
Yeah.
I love
Well, good
how
song,
it-
good soundtrack. Or do you just
good
own the
s-
song?
The song. I own
Okay.
only the song. And I love how it fades in and fades out, so there really is no beginning and no end to the song. I thought that was
see?
really cool.
Thematic.
But it's one song.
Never ends.
Whereas I
could
own
say. But
Joel,
multiple
you're
songs.
discounting-
I own multiple songs from the Labyrinth soundtrack. 'Cause
Why?
I really enjoy. 'Cause I
you really
like,
listen to the
Yes.
song at the beginning?
You remind me of the Babe, Kent.
You're doing the magic dance again.
I know that's one of the songs.
I want to slap that baby.
No, my favorite-
And by the way,
Make
it
it
doesn't say.
free!
It says make him free. I thought it said make him pee.
No, it's Make
I
Him
always
Free.
thought it was make him pee.
No, it's Make Him Free.
It wouldn't have been too outside the movie to
You
say
remind
make
me
him
of the
pee.
Babe. What Babe?
I'm pretty sure it's Make Him Pee.
But no, my favorite song is probably Chilly Down. Like I love Chilly Down with the Fire Gang. That was always my favorite. I thought it was so playful and fun and kind of dark,
It was dark.
and I liked that.
With the worst green screen probably ever in movies.
It was actually a black screen.
Was it? Is
they
that why
had, they had that black, the black velvet, and then puppeteers were wearing black velvet suits, and they had to do the thing, and it looked weird because of that. They hadn't quite perfected blue screen, green screen technology yet, so they did what they could. But I think the
they didn't do a good
soundtrack's
job.
got to go to David Bowie. I mean, David Bowie writing the music. That's
See, you're resting on your laurels of being like
instead of
he's,
Kaja Gugu.
he's a rock star, so he should like. You're basically saying David Bowie versus the NeverEnding Story.
I'm basically
for
saying
all of your
art
arguments
versus pop.
art.
David Bowie.
David Bowie with one kitschy song. That, honestly, that's
I like
the only
I
song.
like Underground almost as much as I like Magic Dance. Magic Dance is like maybe the most prominent song
it's
in the
the
movie.
song. It's the one hit wonder of Labyrinth.
Because then
Dude,
you have Underground, and then you have Chilly Down, and then you have As the World Falls Down, that beautiful, haunting song in the ballroom scene.
You're killing me. The song about pedophilia?
No, it's
the
not
song
about-
where it's Eyes Wide Shut, and he's chasing a 15-year-old
That's actually
Jennifer
weird.
Connelly down.
I have a thing here that says that's actually a Rorschach song, and you see Your Heart's Desire in it, Kent. So I'm kind of weirded out by you right now.
Well, that's weird because Jim Henson made a scene about pedophilia in Eyes Wide
He didn't.
Shut.
There's never any romantic stuff going on between the two.
eat this peach that will put you to sleep, and we'll have a dream about submission.
What? Where are you getting that
How
from?
much research did you do into Labyrinth?
I didn't go into the dark web, Kent.
First page of Google, several sources all about how Labyrinth is, and I don't want to get into it because it's a little dark, clearly, but a 15-year-old Jennifer Connelly, a 39-year-old at the time David Bowie, but probably thousands of years old for the Goblin King, exploiting her.
I like how he pulled it into fantasy to make it even creepier.
A story about exploiting this girl.
No, he wants the baby
I'm
to become
your
a goblin.
slave.
I know, but that's the thing is he's supposed to be okay. So let me
Underground's really a great song.
Let me get into the technicality of this, Ken. The whole movie of Labyrinth is about a coming of age story with the girl. This is her perception of everything that's going on. Of course, there's going to be this dark, mysterious man.
Why is the baby involved?
Her brother?
Yeah, why is the baby involved? Is it her coming of age?
No, she's
Being
coming
a
of
teen
age,
mom?
but it's like she doesn't want to. Basically, she doesn't want to be the sister to this crying little baby. But then she realizes because she's thinks of herself as a baby too. But then she becomes a woman and says, "Okay, I'll take responsibility."
Thank you for proving my point. Thank you very much. She
How
becomes
does that
a woman.
prove your point?
David Bowie, what happened there?
Nothing happened. The whole thing is coming of age of leaving your childhood behind you.
All
And
right,
at the end, she wants to become. She says, "Okay, I will babysit. I will help out. I will pull my weight around here."
That's coming of age. I will babysit. That's the moral of your story.
That's not the whole coming of age thing. That's her thing because she was always resentful of having to babysit Toby. Then she's like, "No, I love my brother
because he has
that's
her
where she comes
teddy
around."
bear.
Yeah, Lancelot.
Yeah, that's why
Someone's
she was
been
mad.
in my room again. I hate that. I hate it. I hate you. I hate you.
So tacky.
I love that. I can almost quote the entire movie with Labyrinth.
Ew, you make me sick.
All right.
I'd like to point out that Kent is a little creepy. Just want to point that out.
Have you seen Labyrinth?
Just saying, he's projecting some things that I'd never got from that movie.
I'm going to have to stay neutral on this.
Thank you, Jacob.
I'm going to cover, let's go with action. Which one actually had the best action? Like the moments like of, tension and, holding your breath and,
Right.
that cool sort of sequence. Who wins?
So I think that NeverEnding Story, has some good-ish moments, but there's no real battles. There's no real fights. It's essentially people talking to each other and then long travel sequences set to synthesize music.
You're talking about both movies, Joel.
No, because
Are you crazy?
I thought you were just going to
Because-
say this one goes to Willow.
Yeah, which actually has action and is better than Labyrinth.
it's not better than Labyrinth. They might have better
Easily.
action sequences because they have like the sledding scene and the fights, the war scenes with the creepy black furry monsters.
And the weird snake things.
Yeah. But
movie.
Labyrinth actually has a climactic battle at the end. First with the humongous robot, and then once they get inside, it's all the Goblin City fighting against them, and they have to fight away. And then Ludo calls the spoiler
Yeah.
alert. We're gonna have a lot of spoiler alerts for this, but
Yeah, I don't
Ludo
think
calls the
spoiler
rocks,
alerts.
and they all have this huge battle at the end.
I really like imagining people who haven't watched either of these,
Yeah.
listening to you two spout this gibberish.
Well, they're not listening to the show because Kent told them never to listen to another show ever of ours. But
come back, please. I'm very
But
sorry.
NeverEnding Story, the climactic battle. I don't know why Kent's. He better not.
Can I
he
talk about my movie?
He better
Would that
not
be okay?
He better not defend it because it's essentially No Country for Old Men, and he hated that because the action happens completely off screen. The climactic battle where the wolf jumps on the boy, and the boy happens to be holding a sharp piece of stone, and it stabs the wolf, and then the wolf's dead, and that's the end.
What Joel doesn't seem to understand is pacing, right? Action isn't just about
Pacing.
Can you hear me out just a little bit?
Okay, if you don't say something stupid like NeverEnding Story has good pacing.
What?
I
Okay.
should clarify
I'm
once
not
again-
talking about.
I
I'm
should
talking
clarify
about
once again,
action.
I do like this movie. I'm bashing on it because I have to, but I do like NeverEnding Story.
Real. Okay, so here's the thing.
We know you hate it, Joel.
I don't. I really like it.
And I don't want to attack Joel because I just want to defend the better movie. So
Skip that. Just attack
Wait,
Joel.
you're switching to my side?
they're movies that have synthesizers and people go on a journey. Both movies, okay?
No, I said long
So here's the
travel
thing.
sequences.
All right, Kent, let's hear it.
One movie has puppets that run around back and forth and scream at the camera, and there's
Really
there's
good
a,
puppetry.
There's a dog riding. Really good puppetry. You're right.
Yeah.
A dog riding a dog. Okay.
Next category. Which one has
He's
best
more of a fox.
puppetry?
Sir Didymus is more of a fox. than
Is he a
dog.
fox?
Yeah.
Well, a fox is a dog. So, anyways, yeah, it's in the Canis family, is it not? what NeverEnding Story does with tension and building those scenes. Because you just hated on the Gamork and Atreyu scene, but the conversation they have beforehand where they are just doing this showdown.
No.
Are you kidding me?
The
How is
showdown
that
where
not
it's like, why is this happening? I'm not going to tell you. But why is it happening? I'm not going to tell you. Dead.
Joel's version of NeverEnding Story is brilliant.
That's exactly
Please
what
do an
happens.
entire bad lib reading.
Because I'll tell you what I want from my climactic battle.
I'll tell you what I want from the show is to speak. The way it sets up scenes, the tension it builds. It doesn't need to have like sword slinging or anything like that. It's walking up to the guardians, the gateway thing.
The sphinxes.
The sphinxes, and trying not to look up in the air because it's a little inappropriate.
Oh, my son.
But the music going, and it just the way it builds, and all of a sudden he has to walk through and not doubt himself, and then kind of flip through to do this whole somersault. And when it comes down and hits, and he beats it, he wins. You're like, yes.
He didn't beat it. He wasn't worthy to pass through. He was just a good runner. Basically, if you did a brisk walk past the sphinxes, they couldn't kill you.
Oh, come
Where's
on.
the tension in that?
Dude, did you not see the scene?
That knight could have ran up full gallop and he wouldn't have gotten hit.
Listen, old people can't walk briskly anymore. There's a lot of tension there.
It's old.
Well, people?
If there was someone old,
Henry the Wizard?
If there was the one gnome guy that was there, he might have gotten shot. But that actually kind of bothered me this time where I'm like, no, he cheated the system. He wasn't worthy. How would he be able to pass the sphinxes? He just ran through.
Atreyu, that's why Atreyu is not the hero. And that's another part of my argument.
And Kent said, it's all about setup, which fine, but setup needs follow through. And NeverEnding Story doesn't give you the follow through satisfactorily.
Are you kidding me?
No, because watching it just recently, I really kind of went, wow, not a lot happens in this. Like it was kind of surprising.
Yeah, it's like they don't keep falling through holes and going to new dungeons and then getting out and then falling through more holes.
It's not a mental puzzle the entire time, and she has to figure out her life lessons as she goes through them in Labyrinth.
It relies
man, guys,
on
I've missed
story.
verses. It's been a long time.
No follow through. The entire movie builds to a point, and this is almost giving away why I think this movie is so great. This is the Christopher Nolan of 80s fantasy movies.
There we go.
All right. And I only want to
Kent.
I only want to give it partial, but this movie goes deeper than just a relatable kid on a journey, right? This is the person reading the book about the kid on the journey, but once again, it's about the person watching the movie, about the kid reading the book, about the kid on their journey. This is a multi-layered story that not only breaks the fourth wall, it breaks like the 16th wall.
But there's not really a hero. There's no real hero in there. Like, what does Atreyu do?
Mean?
Nothing.
Bastion, what are you talking about?
What does Bastion do? There's no character arc with Bastion whatsoever. Because at Bastion, at the very beginning, at the very beginning,
I'm ready to go.
At the very beginning, Bastion's dad says you need to get your head out of the clouds and keep your feet on the ground.
Yes.
And then, because he's had his head in the clouds the entire time, and at the end of the movie, he decides to have his head in the clouds and his feet not on the ground, just like he's always done. He doesn't change.
If I may, actually, so let's take a little bit deeper. What Bastion is dealing with is the loss of his mother.
Yeah, his dad's a jerk about that.
His dad is a total jerk, but
and he
that's
puts eggs in his drink.
That's
he's
so
gonna get
gross.
salmonella.
Right? But this movie is about defying adulthood and trying to keep that imagination alive. And so when his dad says, "Get your feet on the ground," actually that stops him at the end from naming the childlike empress.
What does he name the childlike empress?
Moonchild. Such a beautiful name.
Moonchild. If you didn't know what he said, because I didn't know what he said, even when I turned on the subtitles, it would just say screams. But he yells out the name Moonchild to give the empress, which once again, that's the climactic.
How many times have we screamed that out just on this show?
A lot. That's the climax of the movie, by the way. Since we're still talking about best action, the climax of the movie is a kid walking up to the window and yelling Moonchild. Boom.
So if I may, can I read some quotes? This is the end scene. You say there's no follow through. This is where the follow through comes through. It takes lines from the beginning of the movie and makes him save the day despite his dad, who is really too harsh on him and is not letting him get over the death of his mother. So this is...
What do you mean? He says we need to move on.
The Empress says, he doesn't understand that he's the only one with the power to stop it.
You're my Sam.
You're my Sam. He simply cannot imagine that one little boy could be that important. And then Bastion
you
says...
speak like the childlike empress when you say that.
I'll say. He goes,
little boy.
It's only a story. It's not real. It's only a story. And the Empress says... Why don't you do what you dream, Bastion? He says, but I can't. I must keep my feet on the ground.
She's like 11 years old. This is creepy, Kent.
They're both kids.
Creepy
That's
Kent
weird.
projection.
Old man kidnapping kids. Okay.
Yeah, but the old man.
But I can't.
The old man
I
in the
must keep
bookstore.
my feet on the ground.
The old man in the bookstore
I'll
had the book
you.
first.
Listen
what does
to
that
this.
mean, Kent?
Listen to this. I'll save you. I will do what I dream. This kid who is letting authority bring him down in every way needs to seek that escape. And do you know what?
Authority bring him down every way. He completely shirks all responsibility the whole movie. He never had a problem with authority.
Joel, this movie is about childhood. Maybe your inner child's dead.
No, I like how actually I picked up on this when you were talking about this. I just realized NeverEnding Story is about don't grow up, stay a kid forever. Whereas Labyrinth is more about, okay, there comes a time when you need to put childish things behind you and grow up.
Which kids movie do you want to watch?
David Bowie didn't get that message.
I put makeup on and I have the same hair as
you realize the
Lim
Childlike Empress was in the NeverEnding Story was in the book of the bookstore owner first. So creepy, projection creepy things on the show, dude. That's what you do.
All right, guys.
Nice try.
Next category. Which movie features a giant flying dog?
Yes. Willow. Dang it.
Is there a flying dog in that?
It should be.
Falkor. No,
okay. Avatar, Last Airbender.
Speaking of creepy, so Falkor, I don't know if you noticed how much he winks in the movie when he's like.
I remember he winks a lot.
When he's like, I know and I didn't really notice until my son went. He winks a lot. Why is he winking, Dad? He asked me why is he winking, and I'm like, I don't know, because that was an odd line to wink at there, bud.
He goes, I like children.
Wink. He really does. So, yeah. And, you can ride Falkor, by the way, in Germany. They have a place where you can ride the Falkor prop, like the 30-foot long Falkor prop.
Yeah, 43 foot long.
43, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing.
Isn't that so cool?
That is cool. We
That
should
wasn't
go.
the category,
That should
though.
be the bacon
I mean,
sale.
Falkor.
That's the picture.
Falkor we've used for our picture on shows. I
Yeah, we
mean,
have used
everyone
Falkor.
knows Falkor.
That's because you pitched that show, didn't you?
Yes.
Was that the...
Yeah, NeverEnding Story.
That was the Baconsale pitch project.
It was the reboot.
Yeah, were you going to reboot it or do a sequel?
Probably both.
I think it was a reboot. I'm nervous to even say this one because the yelling will come, but which movie had the best acting?
Well, you mentioned yelling, and it's funny because Noah Hathaway basically yells all of his lines to everyone all the time. He's always yelling. Atreyu, so Atreyu's always just like, what do I have to do? Come on, Morla, talk to me. Tell me. Like all his lines are basically yelling the entire time. And I just think that's kind of ridiculous.
Do you really feel like Jennifer, honestly, from your deep inner critic, did Jennifer Connelly do a good job in that movie?
When she first walked on screen, my 5-year-old daughter said, and I quote, she's pretty.
Good job.
So
good job, Joel Shallow daughter. She's pretty. But can she act? Do you know who else said that? David Bowie. David Bowie. Trying to take your innocence. Not your daughter, Jennifer Connelly.
No.
All David Bowie does is he hams it up.
You should have just stopped with, you know who else said that?
He does not actually, this movie goes, oh, goblins, I saw my baby.
That's not how the line goes
She
at all.
showed my cod piece.
You know, what? One of my favorite lines, actually.
Can you
is when it's
unsee the cod piece?
I really didn't notice it, Kent. Once again, I think we're just learning more about you than we are about the movie.
Are you kidding me? You're playing this part right now, and you're being so untrue.
One of my favorite lines.
That is what everyone knows about Labyrinth.
It's not a great moment from David Bowie, but I just love it. Is when he
great
says,
moment. The entire movie
is when the thing goes, what have we here? And Hoggle goes, nothing. And he goes, nothing. Tra la la.
I actually use that. I say nothing. Tra la la.
I love it.
Yeah,
but
makes
David
no
Bowie
sense.
is the complete mystical being. Like even in his persona, you never really quite understood who he was, and he was all these different personas throughout his career.
David Bowie
and Jareth is just one of those where it's just so mysterious. And I think Sarah plays the every woman perfectly.
What?
I think she does a great job of playing the naive girl who then realizes, okay, it's time for me to grow up, put childish things behind me, and accept responsibility in my life.
See, I would say that those characters are nice for like a fantasy, but the ones that are believable would be like Barrett Oliver as Bastion. He is like every kid. He's the shy bookworm who doesn't really want to go to class.
Barrett Oliver is probably the better actor in that movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But Atreyu gets all the screen time, and he's not good.
And also, actually, I think we're not giving credit to the voice actors, who are also quite good. Jim Henson's son, Brian, did Hoggle
yeah.
in Labyrinth. And then Alan Oppenheimer played
Who's the
Falkor.
voice of Skeletor.
Yeah, Skeletor. He's done 303 voice acting credits.
Yeah.
Falkor, Rockbiter, and Gamork in this movie. It's like the voice actors, I think,
and the
for both.
narrator, too. Like the one that's
yeah, he did.
And that's a different story.
Isn't that weird when the narrator jumps in the end? You're like, wait, where did this come from?
There's a narrator? What?
Was he here the whole time?
Yeah. But I think acting I do think that they're both child movies. So we're not going for Academy Award winning drama here. But I think when you think about the puppeteering alone, that's a form of acting. And Labyrinth has that in the bag because you believe these characters are real.
Well, what about Falkor with the winking?
That's a little creepy. But no, Hoggle, for example, there's 4 people working that one puppet. You have the one person inside who couldn't see anything because she had the giant mask on her head. And then you had...
she actually didn't do anything. She just was suffocating.
Well, she's moving around. And then you have 3 puppeteers doing the face movements. And then you have Brian Henson doing the voice. And all that together. Jeez. And yet you believe Hoggle is a real person. And the same with all the other characters that you have in there, all the goblins and the hat people and the helping hands and all that. You believe these characters are real. And that's why I think acting has to go.
That should be a
Labyrinth.
T-shirt. Hoggle is a real person.
Hoggle's a real person, too.
Or Hogwarts, as they call him in the movie.
Yep. You're welcome, J.K. Rowling.
You see, I think you're trying to detract from the human actors in this one who are not good. It's almost like...
Not all actors are humans, Kent.
Oh, wow. Tell that to Andy Serkis, am I right? I feel like you're judging this movie on like, is it a Fast and Furious movie? Vin Diesel's supposed to act this way, so he does. Because
Does Vin Diesel act?
No, just like Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie in this movie.
No.
But there's actual acting and attempts at acting where it feels real in NeverEnding Story.
All right, I'll do it. I will do what I'm told.
Yeah, weird that an 11-year-old boy would act like that. I mean, it's totally believable. A kid that's scared in the attic, that the fate of a Fantasia land rests on his shoulders alone. And he's read that whole story. A kid that gets into a book, why wouldn't he act that way? Instead of being like, I hate my brother, I want him gone, and then 2 seconds later, I want him back.
No, that's exactly what a kid does. It's like, I want this. Then it happens. They're like, no, wait, I didn't want that. No, I take it back. But she can't because she already said and the goblins took him away.
I think, not very believable. It maybe if it had different delivery, and I love Jennifer Connelly.
No,
I love
apparently
you, Jennifer
you
Connelly.
don't.
But I don't love 15-year-old Jennifer Connelly, so...
That's probably better you said that.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad I clarified.
I am, too, because that would have been weird otherwise. Also,
if you're not careful, the goblins will come take you away.
Yeah, Joel, don't wish. Please
fun
don't.
fact.
Season finale.
Fun fact about watching the movie with my kids. My 5-year-old daughter, once again, could not stop calling Atreyu a she. He kept being like, what's wrong with her? What's she doing? And I kept saying, it's a he. It's a he, baby. But she just could not get it through.
It's a he, baby.
It made me laugh. Oh. No,
right.
I love that part, by the way. You mentioned the goblins can take away. That's one of my favorite parts of the movie when she's like, she's going to say the words. And she's like, Goblin King, wherever you may be, take this baby far away from me. Aw, that's not it. Where'd she get that rubbish? It doesn't even start with I wish. For some reason, I just love that. How they undercut the scene with humor.
Did any of your kids find that creepy? I'm not that scene, but like the goblins themselves.
The first scene when after Toby disappears and the goblins are running around the room, my 5-year-old did cuddle up right next to me. She got a little weirded out by that. But most of the rest of the movie she was pretty fine with. She was always worried. And she was also, like when we watched NeverEnding Story, she kept being worried about the horse.
Oh, no.
But, yeah.
Oh,
like,
no.
Come over here to the kitchen with me for a minute.
Hey, what's that?
Actually, can I just do this? Because I feel like I just need some reverence for this part.
All right, let's hear it.
Because the Swamps of Sadness.
I'll give it to you.
This scene still makes me emotional. I can't get over
when
it.
he eats the peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
It is. No, actually, it's the part where he eats the entire apple.
Yeah, the whole core.
What was up with that?
I don't know, but even my kids said that was weird. He ate the whole apple.
So he gets to a part in the book. He's like, yeah, I'm definitely still going to read it. And he goes, hump. And
the whole core.
The
Seeds
core.
and all. Apple seeds are poisonous, kids.
Don't do it. So I get to this, and this is where I was taking notes, and I said, I can't unhear this music, because all of a sudden you hear the, it's really the ethereal sort of sadness music, and I go, oh no, please don't take Artex through the swamps. Please don't do it. And then all of a sudden he starts, because Artex stops, and he goes, come on, Artex. What's the matter? What's wrong? Come on, boy. I understand. Artex, you're sinking. Turn around. You have to now.
No, you got to be screaming the lines by this
No,
point.
no, but then it builds.
Go
He goes,
0 to 60.
fight against the sadness, Artex. You have to try. You have to care.
Artex,
You're my friend. I love you. And I put Oscar-winning performance.
No.
And then I say, Atreyu cries. And then Bastion reading the books cries. And then me watching the movie, I cry. This is a 3-layer story. That scene gets me so much. I credit that as the only movie scene that's ever truly made me cry. Maybe not true, but it's the only one that I can still watch and go, I get those feelings like my chest gets all puffed up. And I'm like, don't do it.
As a kid, I completely agree with you, Kent. As an adult, that death scene feels unearned.
Hashtag Joel 2017.
I watched it this time and I went, oh my gosh, Artex dies that quick? Like we only got one scene of them really kind of bonding-ish when they eat together. He feeds him some sugar cubes.
But if I may, it's an hour and a half movie.
But it did feel like I remember I was like, I don't remember this happening that early. So I kind of felt it was under. Also, why was Artek sad? Like, why all of a sudden did the horse get depressed? Like, where did that even come from? All of a sudden the horse starts sinking, and then I'm like, well, why did the horse get sad?
Well, it's kind of like, for example, if I may, I'm going to bring this back to the last Airbender real quick.
I love you for that.
And I was kind of like, I got to this episode where I was like, wait, what happened to Appa?
Oh, Appa.
What happened to Appa? Why? Why did that happen? And then Joel's like, this is part of the hero's journey. Like, the hero must lose everything in order to complete the journey.
But that was like season 2 or
yeah,
season
it was
3? So you already had built that relationship.
It sure. But I was kind of like, oh man, like I kind of got why he had to get rid of Artek so soon, because Atreyu truly needed to lose everything and everyone to complete the journey so that Bastion could then finish the journey. And I will say it was a little early, but they kind of summarized it with exposition where they're like, both Atreyu and Artek tried to find the cure for weeks. And then they stopped for a few times to rest.
That
was
was part of the thing is like, there was that montage when I went, oh, really? That was just a montage? Like there wasn't anything that happened between then and then?
He was at a stream, a really pretty stream.
Really pretty stream. Yeah, the movie literally takes a lunch break in the middle, a half hour into the film.
But Gamork is chasing.
So, pacing.
Yeah, great pacing for an hour and a half movie. Thank you.
Lunch break.
All right, next category. I want to combine makeup and visual effects. Who has the best?
Come on.
It's NeverEnding Story. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that, just for an example, Jareth, the Goblin King, has this crystal ball that he just waves back and forth between his hands. And it looks like this bubble. It looks like a special effect, but it's not.
It often is a special effect, though.
No, it's not. It's mostly a crystal ball, except when it floats
not in his
away.
hands, yes.
But it's not his hands. They actually had a puppeteer putting his hands underneath David Bowie's armpits and doing the things blind. So he was doing all these gymnastics with this crystal ball and not even be able to tell. And that shows the magic of Labyrinth. They're all about practical effects. Almost everything they do is practical.
Black screen.
But they're using puppets and things like that. It's not CGI. It's not hokey looking. And also the opening credits with the owl
looks terrible, by the way.
But it was one of the first use of realistic CGI animal in a film ever. Like they were breaking new ground there, trying this owl and seeing how it worked out. And the puppets. I mean, like I said, you believe Hoggle is real. You believe these goblins are really running around. You believe Ludo is a real person. You just love him and want to give him a hug because Ludo, friend,
Smell bad.
I love Ludo. And Sir Didymus and the dog. Like if you watch closely, you can actually see when they swap in
that dog fly?
Puppet dogs. No, he can run.
Flying dogs for the win.
But I love how they switch in puppet dog and real dog depending if they're doing like a running shot or a close-up shot.
I want to give credit to both these movies because you mentioned practical effects. Both movies excel.
They do a lot of that.
I love the puppets in Labyrinth. They are awesome. Jim Henson does puppets, right? But I will say, like, practical effects, like, you'd be selling NeverEnding Story short by saying it's not practical.
Well, it's more, I just feel like the puppets in Labyrinth are better. And maybe it is because it's 2 years later, but you can tell the puppets in NeverEnding Story are puppets, but you forget they're puppets when you're watching Labyrinth.
So, for example, Falkor, if I may, they built him 43 foot long, motorized. He has 6,000 shiny plastic scales, and he's draped with pink leather fur. Jeez. I mean, they created Falkor, and they didn't even use it. Mostly it's just the animatronic head going up and down on the screen.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but they still built him.
But that's the thing is, like, and this is compliment to NeverEnding Story, but when he's riding on him, and even though it's pretty obvious it's like a screen in front of him, I think every one of us as a kid was like, it's like I'm riding Falkor.
Look, if I was able to get wishes, and every wish created a new part of Fantasia, it would be to ride Falkor. It would be.
One of them would be. But okay, I want to bring that up just as a point too. Bastion is given all the power in the world.
Yeah.
And what does he do with that? He gets revenge. This boy is going to cause some problems.
He really is.
Not only that, and this is something I didn't pick up on until I was an adult, just barely watching it.
I remember that as a kid. I was like, he doesn't seem like a very good person.
They give him basically the power. They're like, oh, crap. But no, he's flying in to get the bullies. But if you notice, there are adults, full-grown adults on the street who are screaming and running to the walls and running inside buildings because he's terrorizing the city.
In my watch notes, I said, is this a prequel to Pacific Rim? Because I was like, this has got to be a big incident, right? Like, they have got to build major robots to fight these luck dragons. So can I add this real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
About effects real quick. Roger Ebert said, There's a lot about NeverEnding Story. There's a lot to believe in NeverEnding Story, and that's the other great strength of this movie. It contains some of the more inventive special effects work of a time when battles in outer space have grown routine. And then he mentions, like, look at how everything is copied Star Wars, but then look at NeverEnding Story, where an entirely new world has been created. And granted, it came 2 years early, before Labyrinth, but it built a movie. I'm not saying it's Lord of the Rings or anything, and it created these archetypes.
Right.
But what it did with, like, actual environments and, like, the sound stages and everything, it was great.
No, and that's one of the reasons and you talked about, the building of Falkor too, which is impressive.
Yeah.
The helping hands, the shaft of hands in Labyrinth was a rig that was 40 feet high and required 100 performers to operate the hands. And Jennifer Connelly was in a rig that they would raise and lower her in, and they left her there sometimes for lunch break. She just just hang up there for a while.
And they told her if she reached behind her and touched the rig that she was on, her hands would have been cut off because it was so much pressure.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. And then Magic
She's 16
Dance.
years old.
The dance magic scene, as they called it, the Magic Dance scene, consisted of over 48 puppets, 52 puppeteers, and 8 people in goblin costumes running around. Not only that, but the puppets weren't just good in the movie.
They were great.
They were good in real life because they brought them to the premiere. And they had some of the puppets walking around like Hoggle, and they had like the head moving. They also had Ludo, and they had a royal premiere, and Princess Diana of Wales met Ludo and said, quote, "Isn't he wonderful?" upon being introduced to him.
It's a fun fact.
I love it. Princess Diana loved Ludo, just like I do. Diana friend.
I feel like that's wrong to say. I feel like you can't do that.
What? It's Ludo. He can say that.
Oh, it's Ludo. Okay.
He loves David Bowie and Roger Ebert too.
And they're dead.
Whoa.
Oh, did you know that Michael Jackson was almost Jareth, the Goblin King?
Yeah, but there's a lot of those. They would have been, but
Makes sense, though, for the character.
if you're projecting creepiness on it, Ken, like you have been.
Oh, I will say this. I found fun facts. I know we're not to fun facts yet. Can I still add some?
Sure, why not?
Labyrinth is the 13th most successful puppet movie of all time.
According to what?
It's after all. This is Box Office Mojo.
Oh, okay.
After all of the Muppet movies, Dark Crystal, Being John Malkovich, and
movie?
Follow That Bird.
Wow.
Yeah, and also I read this too. Falkor is actually the number 4 movie dragon of all time, according to the site called Showtime Showdown.
That's your site.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the reasons, by the way, Labyrinth may have not done as well at the box office is because it was going up against ones like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Top Gun, Ruthless People, Karate Kid Part 2. Like,
I love that movie.
It's some pretty stiff competition.
So I actually looked up the heroes, and I don't know if this is categories, Jake. Maybe I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, what are you
But I
talking
looked
about?
up the heroes wiki and the villains wiki because we use those so much for our brackets.
Oh, yeah.
So I looked up the heroes and the villains on this one.
Oh, I didn't.
So, for example, Atreyu, his name means son of all. His powers and skills are archery and hand-to-hand combat, and his hobby is wilderness survival and
Did we see
tracking.
him do any archery in the movie? Is this from the book?
Oh, he's a plains people that hunt the purple
Right, but I mean,
buffalo.
we don't see anything like that in the movie.
It's just in the art. But
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah,
is in
okay,
his.
yeah. Okay.
Joel, this is Heroes Wiki.
No, I'm just trying to figure out if they're going from the book or from the movie.
Yeah, and so Bastion, his powers and skills are stealing, eating a whole apple. I wrote that one. His hobbies are dreaming and making wishes. And then Sarah Williams for Labyrinth, her powers and skills are cleverness and dancing skills. Her hobbies are taking care of Toby. I don't know if I believe that one. And avoiding traps and goblins, which he is pretty good at. Gamork, his occupation is servant of the power behind the nothing.
Yeah, so he's not even like the big bad. He's like
He's the
big bad right hand man.
He's essentially he's known as the harbinger of doom.
He's the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, exactly. So his powers and skills are speed and fangs. The nothing. I actually want to read the NeverEnding Story book because it sounds like there's some pretty cool stuff behind the nothing.
It does, actually.
So, okay, here's the thing about the nothing. I feel like that's almost too much for kids because basically it's
deep, right?
non-existent.
The nothing?
Yeah, it's oblivion.
It's obliteration.
When you say it's not enough,
No, I'm saying it might be.
it's
I'm
nothing.
saying it might be too much for
because-
kids. Oh, I get you, but I mean, I don't think I want my kids dealing with existential dread.
No, it really is. So for example, the nothing's occupation, manifestation of disbelief, destroyer of imagination. Its powers and skills are vast dark powers, erases everything it comes in contact with, attracts all looking at it, and turns all fantasions it erased into, hold on, get this, turns all fantasions into lies in the real world. That's some deep stuff. I need to read this book. Hobby for the nothing, wreaking havoc and destruction. And then it was actually created by these things called the manipulators.
What?
Which is not in the movie, but it's in the book.
Interesting.
So I really want to read this.
But I want to bring up the fact, too, that Bastion and Atreyu both fail in their mission. Atreyu doesn't ever really find the human boy. He just happens to be along with him. And Bastion doesn't save Fantasia. Fantasia is dead, and Bastion creates a new Fantasia. Yay!
Family friendly, okay?
What?
Never mind.
Oh, by the way,
fell at all. What are you talking about?
I think you noticed. I think I know what he's talking about, because I used to be scared to say Bastion's name when I was a kid because I thought it was a bad word.
Yeah, me too, actually. Oh, by the way, I didn't get to Jareth, by the way.
Oh, yes,
Occupation, wizard, much like Henry, ruler of Goblin City, powers, skills, magical powers, implied immortality, which would help him in the villains bracket, control over time and space, so he may be a doctor, and his hobbies are kidnapping, ruling, and challenging. And he's a monarchical magician. Or monarchical magician.
There you go.
So, yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing. Roger Ebert said this about The Nothing.
You're quoting him a lot.
How's this?
He loves Roger Ebert.
The corpse of Roger Ebert.
No!
How's this for a threat? The kingdom of Fantasia is about to be wiped out, and the enemy isn't an evil wizard or a thermonuclear device. It's nothingness. That's right. An inexorable wave of nothingness is sweeping over the kingdom, destroying everything in its path. Were children's movies this nihilistic in old days?
That's just it. It's heavy.
It's heavy because it's a deep story.
It's
That's
not.
the thing.
No. It's not. It's not
Even
a
the
story.
Rock-
It's a story with deep concepts, but they really kind of skim the surface in the movie. The book has.
No,
a lot
you
more
listen
of
to the
that.
dialogue, and the Rockbiter, one of the deepest characters in the story.
Oh, when he promotes suicide.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on. Well, the Rockbiter's there is like, these look like big, strong hands, but I couldn't save people, so I'm just gonna sit here and die now. I give up.
He was going to get
bother.
sucked away. The whole world is getting sucked away.
But he
the thing is,
basically
he goes,
promotes suicide.
But I mean, even when the Rockbiter is saying like he used to eat rocks at this other place and his family or his kind was around, and they're like, was everything gone? And he's like, no, there was a lake, and even not a lake would be something.
He's like, is there a hole? He's
Yeah,
like,
is there a hole? No, there was nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. I'm like, wow, this is deep. And honestly, too deep for me when I was watching this when I was 7. But the fact is, for me, that's why it has longevity, is because every time I watch it, and granted, both these movies you watch them in your mid-30s and you go, yeah, I remember when I used to watch this on Saturday afternoons and I was this age and everything like that. But I still think the concept in this movie are deeper than anyone really realizes.
I just realized something. So
You're switching boats.
We're men children?
Well, yeah, we are definitely men children. But when we were talking before, how Ken said this is a Nolan movie, I think I just realized that NeverEnding Story is dark and depressing, and Labyrinth is bright and fun. So Kent is voting for the DC, and I'm voting for Marvel, apparently. And that's why he likes it, is because it's dark and depressing. Whereas I think children's movies are fun and happy and have a good moral, instead of a little boy who has a mental breakdown and ends up dreaming about killing people.
We're going to turn this baby boy into a goblin.
That's
you can
what
get here
Sarah
in 13
perceives.
hours, or then eat this peach and you may either die or succum to my fantasy.
No, he gives her the peach to forget about everything so she won't keep pursuing the baby and won't win.
But what was the whole crystal ball thing where she went through the whole...
It was a fever dream.
It was a fever dream. She was drugged.
The whole movie is Sarah's perception of what's going on. If you look
Hold on. Can I ask you this?
Yes.
Because I want to know. I actually think maybe this gives more to the story. Because otherwise I think it's a pretty basic story. Everything
Basic
that
white
happens...
girl, is that what you're saying?
Maybe. Everything that happens in Labyrinth is based on things that are in her room.
Yes. Oh, yeah. At the beginning, you see...
Did you know this, Jake?
Oh,
like
you
pictures on the wall or toys.
There's Sir Didymus. There's a toy. There's the Goblin King toy. There's books like Wizard of Oz. There's oh shoot, I'm forgetting what it's called. Like basically, you see all these props at the very beginning of the room. It foreshadows the entire movie.
Is this happening in her mind?
Well, and that's the whole question.
Sounds like it has to be.
Well, that's the whole question. Is like it's like Wizard of Oz. It's like, is it a dream? Is it not a dream? Did it really happen? Did it not happen? Mm-hmm. But the whole point is, like I said, the whole point of the movie is she's a girl who doesn't want to grow up. And so she has all these toys in her room. She reads all these, books about, fantasy. But then at the end of the movie, she even gives Lancelot away to Toby. And even there's a midpoint of the movie when she's with the junk lady, when she realizes that if she holds, and this is maybe more of a cautionary tale against hoarding, but if you keep all of your stuff from your childhood, it just bogs you down. You become that trash lady. That's what the whole point of that is. So she learns, okay, you know what? I'm going to put away childish things. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to be a grown-up.
Put away
never
white
says that.
childish things?
What?
Put away white childish
That's
things?
racist.
What?
I thought that's what you said.
Yeah.
Projection?
A lot of projection happening on this show.
You want to see what he is now, Ken, since you're labeling all of us?
I think you're a great guy, Jake.
Nice. All right, so next category, which show features a really creepy guy with insane eyebrows and hair that's everywhere?
That's Falkor. Or it's the gnome guy from NeverEnding Story.
Oh, the gnome guy. I guess.
You like how we don't know any of their names?
To the
by
winch.
The way?
To the winch, wench.
You know, like that's the thing. By the way, that's the thing about NeverEnding Story versus Labyrinth. You know Bastion. You know Atreyu.
Bastion, Atreyu,
You know
the Empress, Moonchild.
It's a pretty good run. Yeah.
With Labyrinth, you have Sarah and Jareth and Hoggle and
Joel,
Sir
please
Didymus
put it to song.
And
Okay.
I don't have a song, but I'm saying
Joel,
the character.
Joel.
I think the characters in Labyrinth are more memorable.
What you're saying
than the
is so
characters.
biased because you know this movie by heart and you know
What are,
these
what are the names?
characters.
Without looking at your notes, what are the names of the gnomes?
I don't know the names of the gnomes.
They're one of the few characters.
the names of the gnomes.
Atreyu is the only one that has basically any sort of character depth.
No,
and it's
there's the
pretty
guy
flat.
with the spine on his head.
Gordon
And
from Sesame Street.
He does look like Gordon.
He does. I used to think that.
I think he's in the Jedi Council in the first Star Wars.
He probably could have been.
Because he looks just like that guy.
Did you have some IMDb like facts or something like that?
Oh, I have a Parents Guide notes because I love getting
Parents
those.
Guide. That's
Which
what it
one's
is.
more family friendly?
So they're both a little unfamily friendly in
There's
many ways.
definitely parts where I'm like, whoa, okay.
Like, for example, there's a little bit of swearing in Labyrinth, not harsh language.
D-word. They say the D-word a
Family
couple
friendly
times.
Labyrinth?
Hoggle says the D word a couple times.
So this is from the Parents Guide. This one's really long, but it also proves my point, which you thought I was being a little weird before. So Jareth, the Goblin King, is stated to be in love with the underage pubescent Sarah, and his romantic desire for her is heavily implied not to be entirely unrequited.
But this is
In
also
one-
in
she
Sarah's
likes him
mind.
too?
In one dream sequence, she and he have a slow dance with each other at a rather decadent masquerade ball. And near the end, as he's making one final appeal to her, some of the things he says are highly reminiscent of, and I'm going to leave one term out, but submission fantasies.
Oh, no.
So yeah, I mean, that's there. And Parents Guide is kind of the Bible.
Oh,
so
yeah. Parents Guide, which is written by IMDb users who run the YouTube comment
a
section.
peach Jareth has Hoggle give Sarah, induces a surreal dream sequence, very much like a drug trip, which is followed by amnesia, heavily implying that it's been spiked with something hallucinogenic. The concept of Bog of Eternal Stench, which I've always loved, even though
Bog
it's a
of Eternal
10-minute fart joke, which will make anyone fall into it stink forever, can be too disturbing for younger children.
No, I actually like the Bog of Eternal Stench because it has stakes. Like there's a problem there. If you put in that, you'll stink forever, but it's on a kid level. So they're not going to die. They're just going to stink. I love that because
It is
it's
good for
like,
kids. Yeah, it's freaky.
Except
for kids.
So the Swamps of Sadness, where you'll die in quicksand.
Dude, so you want to bring up the Swamps of Sadness? How the director almost killed Noah Hathaway?
Oh, tell me about that, because you told me about this like a year ago.
Yeah, I can remember this story.
To get the Swamps of Sadness to work, they had a hydraulic platform, and they actually trained the horse to not flinch as they lowered it down to the neck. Like they trained him, you're not going to go all the way under, and so the horse was fine. Noah Hathaway, however, when he was going under, his foot got caught on the platform, and he got pulled under the surface and almost drowned. They pulled him out. He was unconscious.
Wait, was this a soundstage or like actually in a
This was
swamp?
a soundstage. Yeah,
Okay,
it was a soundstage. And they also, Noah Hathaway got thrown from a horse and stepped on. He almost got his eye poked out by the Gmork prop when it jumped on him. Like, they were not friendly to kids on this set. Like, he went through a lot. Also, apparently the director, Wolfgang Peterson, was a perfectionist and made the kids do like 40 takes. So the Swamps of Sadness took months to film, he said.
Wow.
Sounds miserable.
I mean, it's a great scene.
It turned out good, but I was just like, man, dude, it's good. It was filmed in Germany, probably because if it were filmed here, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And actually, I do want to give some props to Wolfgang Peterson.
Props.
Props?
Yeah, like the movie props.
Oh, yeah. He's a movie prop.
The RN.
It's Falkor's face.
The necklace, the Snake King, the snake's called the RN.
So Wolfgang Peterson, like his best, most celebrated movie is probably Das Boot. Das Boot. Have you guys seen that?
Das Boot, I have not
It's
seen
pretty
it.
good, actually. He did Enemy of Mine,
He did Line of Fire, right?
In the Line of Fire, Outbreak, Air Force One, The Perfect Storm, and Troy. And then Jim Henson did Big Bird's Favorite Party Games, The Dark Crystal, The Great Muppet Caper, and Shalom Sesame. And this was his final. It was Jim Henson's
This
final
is his
movie.
final movie
I
before he
think
passed
I think
away.
Labyrinth finally killed
Oh,
Jim
come
Henson.
on.
'Cause
Have some reverence for
I
the
know.
man. Good heavens.
He's dead though.
Killed
Like
his
David
career.
Bowie
You should have said killed his career.
and his life.
Also,
No. You guys are so insensitive.
yeah, I don't know why you didn't take that one. That would have been good. All
Can I
right.
tell- by the way, can I tell you one of my favorite moments of Labyrinth? If I just want to bring this up because I just got reminded of it, is the riddle, the riddle of the two doors, where they have the two doors. She has to pick which one. One of these leads to the castle to the center
By the
of the
way-
labyrinth, and the other one leads to boom, 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 certain death. Ooh, and she has to decide because one of them always tells the truth and one of them always lies. and she has to determine which door will help her get there and which door will kill her. And I love that moment because she outsmarts them in a way that every time I watch it, my brain gets it just for a little bit, and then it goes away again. You know how she does it, Jacob?
How's she do it?
She goes to one of the doors and says, if I ask the other guy if this door leads to the castle, what would he say? And then they talk it over, and she says, yes. And then it's like, okay, well, then it's obviously the other door. And he says, but I could be lying. It's like, well, then the other guy would be telling the truth. Well, he could be telling the truth. Then you would be lying. The way she does it, I love it. Oh, I'm sorry. Kent's not impressed by strong, independent female leads.
One of the most passive heroes of all time.
No, she's actually very strong and independent, and she does a great job of solving these puzzles as she going along. She's a good hero.
She's so passive.
No, but then
she's led from place to place.
Now, I know you like the strong, independent female hero of Atreyu, but he literally does nothing. He does nothing. He rides around the whole time and runs and rides and
passes
that's it.
2 gateways, which no other heroes can.
He runs past it because he's not worthy enough to pass
survives.
It. What was the other? Oh, yeah, he looks
the
in
magic
a mirror.
Which is even harder than the first one.
Which that always weirded me out, by the way. I'm like saying, are they saying that he's Bastion, or that Bastion's him, or that Bastion's the creator? Like, I'm not bashing on that. This is actually
that's
one
the
of
thing.
those.
I could answer that question. The reader, Bastion sees himself as Atreyu because when you read a book, you kind of put yourself in the protagonist role, right?
Right, but what did Atreyu saw him?
And because the story is deeper, Atreyu sees Bastion in the mirror because, like no other book you've ever read, kind of like the old man says at the beginning, you affect this story. You're literally saving that universe.
It just never quite. I kind of read that. I'm like, that seems just like a gimmick for the movie.
All right, guys.
Oh, but it's not. That's what it's built around. It's the never-ending story.
Next category.
For anyone watching or reading it.
Which movie has the best moral of the story?
I think we've kind of already touched on this. Where,
give me a short argument on this.
I'm going to quote Jennifer Connelly. Jennifer Connelly said that the film is about a young girl growing out of her childhood who is just now becoming aware of the responsibilities that come with growing up. And that's what the moral of the story here. Well, there's actually a couple more morals that they go along throughout the movie. That's the main one.
Yeah, there's multiple morals. Yeah.
But I mean, it teaches kids, for example, it teaches you that you only get the right answers when you ask the right questions. It teaches you not to take things for granted. It teaches you that life isn't always fair, but that's just the way it is. And it teaches you that things are not always what they seem, which are good lessons to teach to kids. In NeverEnding Story, it teaches you, hey, get revenge on the bullies that robbed you at the beginning. Oh, and you're probably having a mental breakdown, and that's why you've seen all this.
You're talking about mental breakdowns? What's Labyrinth?
It's not
she's seeing everything that's in her room.
Yeah.
But you just said it's happening in her mind.
It's a symbolic journey, Ken. It's a little deeper than I think you'd understand, but
the arbitrary 13
most
hours.
7-year-olds can comprehend it, Ken.
Nice try. I think the moral, I mean, yes, I've talked about how this is a deeper story. I joked about the Christopher Nolan thing. It's a deeper story. It's about a kid dealing with loss. I mean, it shows in the first scene of the movie, him waking up, the picture of his mom on the wall, and his dad yells at him to get up and have his breakfast and go to school. And so he sits there and he goes, okay, I need to grow up like my dad says, and I need to have responsibility, but he's still a kid. You know, let him have imagination, because apparently in this movie, all the adults in the world are just under control and they're letting imagination die, and that's why Fantasia's dying. But if you truly believe something, if you keep your imagination, you will not be under anyone's control. You will save.
So we don't really see any adults in the movie. It's basically Bastion in the attic the entire time. What other than the dad? What other adults do we interact with?
What do you mean? Like, no, the whole thing is about authority, though.
But that's you said all the adults in the movie, but I can only remember the dad.
The dad, but Gamork and the Nothing represent authority as well.
They're both teenagers.
Oh, they're teenagers? Gamork. He's so rebellious.
If there's anything, it's teenager, it's the Nothing. Just that destructive force coming in and ruining everything.
It's probably true.
By the way, I love the game plan that Finhead gives to Atreyu. He says, "No one can give you any advice except this. You must go alone. You must leave all your weapons behind.
Gandalf?
It will be very dangerous." Those are his instructions. Really no purpose.
And do you know what he does
as
as a hero? He leaves his weapons behind.
Why did he have to leave
this.
his weapons behind?
Much like Lord of the Rings and any true great fantasy movie, the threat is bigger than anyone could imagine. And here's where it's really like Frodo's or Bilbo's story. The smallest among us have the ability to save the day. The relatable kid in the movie can save the universe.
The kid having the mental breakdown, thinking the book speaking to him.
Yes, Sarah,
because he's been hiding
looking
at
a picture of David Bowie on the wall, can save the universe
with carbon monoxide
or
fumes
her little brother
next to the furnace.
You too cannot whine about babysitting.
child! I saved the world!
Toby!
I'm gonna go shove those bullets into a dumpster now. Because
No
I'm
means,
in charge.
No means no, Jareth.
means all right. Which movie is the most rewatchable? I will hear your arguments now.
Actually, I love watching both of them. I will say, like, watching...
Very convincing argument.
No, like, look, I like both these movies. This is kind of where I'm going to come and kind of bring it around on something we can all agree on. I like watching both these movies this weekend. I had a lot of fun with it. Labyrinth is a little bit longer, by like 15 minutes. And so, yeah, I watched it in 2 sittings because I watched too many movie screeners this weekend. Whereas I could fly through NeverEnding Story because, like Joel with Labyrinth, NeverEnding Story is my movie. Clearly, that's why I picked it.
It's Bastion is literally his picture on one of his email accounts that I email him on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. And, you know, the Falkor thing. For me, the fantasy and I hate nostalgia, but personally...
You hate nostalgia?
I kind of hate nostalgia. Well, I hate everyone. You know, the strangest things.
No, you
type
just
of
said I hate-
nostalgia.
He said I hate everyone. You heard it. He said I hate everyone.
No, I don't mean that. Please listen to the show.
You're mad about everybody having the 80s nostalgia right now.
A little bit.
Right,
But for
yeah.
me, this is my 80s nostalgia. This movie brings back emotions. It brings back like intensity.
So when Stranger Things covers NeverEnding Story, you're going to be all in season 3.
That's a good question. Will I be mad or will I be happy? I don't even know.
Or
be
will it
mad.
ruin Stranger
You'll be
or
mad.
And so-
NeverEnding Story for you?
Yes, honestly, because it's a shorter movie and because I think it tells this great story that even by the end, every time I go, you know what?
I forgot what the category is.
I'm
What is
part
it
of
again?
this story too.
Most rewatchable.
Oh, okay.
I can rewatch it a ton. Labyrinth, I don't mind rewatching because it's a simple story, and I go, oh, that's nice, and I like Magic Dance.
I'm glad you do.
That's it.
And I do want to bring up one more thing that I forgot to bring up in the moral of the story because I did have this at the end of the notes.
Sorry, too late.
Well, this
dang.
little bit
this
late.
ties
So
in,
close,
this ties into it a little
but-
because I was going to say that I get emotional every time I watch Labyrinth, and I did again.
What scene?
The ending? And that's what I was going to say is because at the very
Emotional?
end, well, because first of all, she does have the hero's journey too because she has to leave all her friends behind to go and face the Goblin King alone, and that's kind of that hero's journey thing. And she goes in the
I have a
trippy
follow-up
staircase
question
thing.
after you do this.
But at the very end, when she says, okay, I'm going to grow up and starts putting away all the childish things, and the characters come to him and they're like, should you need us? You know, what's going to happen? Should you need us? And she says, I'll call. And they're like, you will? And she's like, yeah, every now and then I just need you. And I think that's true, that every now and then we need these reminders from our childhood. We need to have a dumb discussion about 2 of our childhood favorite movies every now and then because
It's so true.
Because remembering our childhood helps us from becoming cynical and bitter. And that's what I think the moral of the story of Labyrinth is. It's like, yeah, you can grow up
Why hasn't that worked for Kent then?
because he doesn't hold on to his childhood enough.
Can I read this quote again?
Well, I have one more.
Oh, okay.
But also, there was one other moral that I wanted to get to, and it's one of my favorite moments in the movie, and it's the build-up. Like when Sarah's trying to get Toby, who, by the way, Toby's adorable in his little pajamas.
By the way, David Bowie did the sounds for Toby.
In the
gurgles.
song.
The baby says.
Oh, and a lot of people were like, oh, the baby must have been so terrified. And I actually read an interview with him, and he was like, no. Like, he doesn't remember it, but like the parents were saying that he wasn't terrified by the goblins at all. In fact, he found them funny. So they had to wait till he was grumpy and tired to get him to cry in scenes. Like, had to wait till nap time to actually get him to react the way they wanted him to. Anyway, but so she's tasting Toby. It builds up to this thing where Jareth is trying, like, no, you need to stay here with me forever. And then she just says that amazing line where it's just like, you have no power over me. And then everything just crumbles down and she wins. And I love that because when you're faced with despair or temptation or depression or anything like that, you have no power on me. Use those words, you'll feel better. And as I watched, and now jumping into the heart of the matter, when I watched these this
Deus
weekend,
Ex Machina kind of.
I got chills when I got the you have no power over me, which this once again bookends. She references at the very beginning of the movie and she hits it at the end. So it's a very good kind of bookend moment of the movie. It gives that kind of emotional power. But then I really just enjoyed it and tapping along with the music, singing along, loving it. I watched NeverEnding Story, hoping I'd have the same magic I did because I own both these movies.
Is this closing arguments essentially?
You're kind of sounding like that.
When I watched NeverEnding Story, I was surprised, and maybe it was because I was looking at it with a critical eye because I was coming into this because I love NeverEnding Story. But
I watched Labyrinth with the same thing. Like I
had to take bad notes.
Yes.
Like my notes here are like, oh, his dad's a jerk. Oh, how dare he say that? Like just kind of getting into there.
all for a reason.
But it was because of this. But at the same time, I kind of went, man, I don't know. I don't know if this is as good as I remember it. Like if I had to rate them, Labyrinth would be a 5-star for me. NeverEnding Story would probably be a 4.5. Like it just
That's really nice.
it doesn't quite get there all the way.
Wait, is Labyrinth really a 5-star movie for you?
I can watch that one anytime and be happy with
See,
it.
for me, I feel like NeverEnding Story
Maybe
is
4.5, 4.
NeverEnding Story is probably a B plus. Willow would be a B, and Labyrinth would be a C plus.
That doesn't sound very complimentary. I thought we were going to go on.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah,
I thought
you're
we were
right.
going on
You're right. I meant a B. I meant a B.
No, you didn't.
I meant a B. No, actually.
You're being a B.
Hey.
All right, Kent.
Anywho.
You had more comments on rewatchability?
I'm ready to move on.
Okay. All right. Last category is which movie had the biggest and most lasting cultural impact?
So I just want to bring up a couple things here. So David Bowie once said, every Christmas, a new flock of children comes up to me and says, oh, you're the one who's in Labyrinth. That's what they know him from. That's where I learned who David Bowie was from Labyrinth. Jennifer Connelly also said, I still get recognized for Labyrinth by little girls in the weirdest places. I can't believe they still recognize me from that movie. And since 1997, an annual 2-day masquerade ball called the Labyrinth of Jareth happens in Hollywood every year. This is a cultural impact.
That's cultural impact?
12
this is like masquerade ball?
No,
that's like a Ren
saying,
Fair.
I'm starting out by saying that this movie made an impact in a lot of people's minds. Also, this may not help my thing, and it may just put Kent's head in a weird place because he's been doing that all story. But fanfiction.net hosts over 8,900 stories in its Labyrinth section.
Ew.
People love Labyrinth. They love fanfic.
By the way, do not Google image Sarah and Jareth. Please don't.
Well, I don't want to now.
Well, now everyone wants to.
It's like Googling the Winchester brothers.
Why are
don't
you?
do it.
Don't stop doing no Googles. Good heavens!
Don't Google fan fiction or any
But I
of that.
feel like the music is just omnipresent. You hear it everywhere. people know. You remind me of the Babe. What Babe? Babe
okay,
with power. What
be
power?
honest though, Joel. I know you love it, but it sounds like you love them equally. I think people really only know Magic Dance. Like, you got to be honest there.
That's the most popular one. I won't deny
It's
that.
easily the most
But at the same
popular.
time, Chili Down was my favorite, and in the underground, I call it in the underground, but Underground is another very popular one as well. And he made a music video. I was going to say he made a music video. David Bowie did of, I think it was As the World Falls Down. Maybe it was Underground, but he made one of those music videos, and that helped promote the movie. But I feel like Labyrinth is the bigger movie overall. I feel like NeverEnding Story was a good German film, and pretty popular over here. But I feel like Labyrinth is the more culturally relevant one.
All right, Kent.
I like that you say German film that's pretty popular over here, but it made far more money well before. But
the dubbing just is so distracting.
Lim Hall's Neverending Story
Why did you say it like that?
ranked number, if we're going one-hit wonders, easily takes cultural impact, number 17 on the U.S. Billboard. Number 1 in Norway and Sweden, number 2 in Austria and Germany and Italy, number 4 in the UK, number 6 in Australia. I mean, this song alone, you hear those opening, those really ethereal notes, and you're like, I'm there.
Oh, it's a good song.
I'm there.
But we're not talking about music.
I want to watch this movie. Weren't you just talking about music?
That was
Basically,
part of my argument.
you said David Bowie, David Bowie, David Bowie.
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly gets asked questions and they go to a Ren Fair. That's about it.
How many NeverEnding Story Ren Fairs are there?
Oh, let's go ask Noah Hathaway, and he's giving everyone tattoos. You see Falkor,
least
and
we got something.
You are transported to this world of imagination. You just picture the childlike empress going, Bastion, call my name.
So what a quote Breaking Bad right
I
now.
know. Say my name. The pictures come to your head. It's just how it affects you emotionally. And I feel like that's a cultural impact. It's not some fair that they had. It's how this movie resonated with people and how it helped them deal with bullying, the loss of a loved one, and being a child. Have you seen my childhood?
Okay, so other final thoughts here on this?
I just want to give a final quote, if I may. This is actually like my whole final thing.
Go for it.
So this conversation's between Atreyu, the Empress, and Bastion, and I will break up the parts. So Atreyu says, and this is right at the end of the movie.
Balthazar Bucks. That's our lead characters by the way. Bastion Balthazar Bucks.
Or Sarah Williams, super memorable. And Atreyu says, the never-ending story? What's that? That was pretty good, right? And then the Emperor says, just as he is sharing all your adventures, others are sharing his. They were with him when he hid from the boys in the bookstore. Bastion says, but that's impossible. And then I say, while watching this movie, dude, I love this. And then the Emperor says, they were with him when he took the book with the iron cover.
Play-by-play of his moments of watching it?
I think that's what's happening here.
They were with him when he took the book with the iron cover in which he's reading his own story right now. And so, like, she's talking about the viewer watching a movie with Bastion as the protagonist. And so that's why the movie works for me, is because it's so many layers that each person in the movie doesn't understand the layer above them. I just think this is a deep movie, severely underrated, and tops the 80s fantasy genre, which there are probably only 6 real solid movies. But this is, well, clearly my favorite. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
love it.
And I can quote Labyrinth. Like I said, almost any scene from Labyrinth I can do like by heart. Like I love that scene down in the cave with the "Don't go on, go back while you still can. This is not the way." That whole thing, love it. But I want to quote David Bowie to end, because that's what I've been doing most of the time anyway. He said when he was talking about taking the role, he said, "The script itself was terribly amusing without being vicious or spiteful or bloody, and it had a lot more heart in it than many other special effects movies, so I was pretty hooked from the beginning." And I was too. Labyrinth got me from the very beginning, and I still love it today. I do love NeverEnding Story. I want to say that. I feel like whenever we get to these things, people are going to be like, "Oh, you bashed on NeverEnding Story. You hated it so much." And I'm like, no, I like NeverEnding Story. I just had to take the opposing role for this.
Yes,
it's okay.
It's kind of what we do.
But
Yeah.
but the truth comes from the fact that we do have a difference of opinion as to which one was better.
Yes.
Which is fine. And you can have that same opinion. And we're not going to declare a winner, because that's not what versus shows are about.
Joel?
Actually, guys, I've
At the record
reviewed.
show, Kent and I just held hands.
We shook hands. We shook hands.
I thought you were saying that on purpose.
Hey, Joel, let's try that again.
No, not holding your hand.
Guys, I've reviewed your information about the best 80s fantasy, and I've come to a conclusion about the winner. It's Lady Hawk.
Bam, 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 bam.
You didn't even go Beastmaster on that one. You went Lady Hawk. I am so proud of you right now.
I'd go Lady Hawk. I love Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk's great. Well done,
Man,
sir.
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
I think Jake just won the show.
It's probably
But
Princess Bride in
there's no
reality.
human child brought into a fantasy world there. It's all
Okay, that's a
fantasy world
question.
there.
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Is this the same realm? I
No,
mean, it is
because-
kind of, it follows the same format that mine does.
Kind of, except for
It's less fantasy and more action adventure.
It's not like he's in the story; he's just still hearing the story. Like Fred Savage never becomes part of the story, but man, Princess Bride is fantastic.
It is fantastic. That's another show.
Yeah.
It is.
So there you go.
All right.
That's our show. And let us know online on our Facebook page, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and let us know which one you prefer. Were you swayed by our arguments? I mean, because people are going to come to this with their biases.
Yeah.
But let us know if we swayed you or if you still stick to your winner, and let us know which one you would vote for, and also just or who won the argument.
Yes.
I like how we called it an argument instead of a debate, because that's kind of what it turned into.
Yelling match.
I'm right. I'm right. I'm right.
I love this movie.
But if you want to find me and talk to me about Labyrinth or NeverEnding Story, I'm happy to talk about both. You can find me at 76Joel on Twitter, or you can find me at Quickwits. They perform every Saturday night at the Midville Performing Arts Center. For more details, go to qwcomedy.com or go to the Quickwits Facebook page.
If you want to find me on Twitter or Instagram, it's at Kenny3DD. And if you want to read my movie reviews, it's ShowtimeShowdown.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Jacob A. Rogers and Baconsale on Twitter at Baconsale. And also, as we mentioned in the beginning, go check out the store. It's Christmas time, so go buy yourself or somebody else
times are coming.
some cool Baconsale merch.
tpublic.com/baconsale, or just go to our Facebook page and click the Shop Now button.
Until next time, never give up, and good luck will find you.
Okay. You guys ready?
No.
Question.
Make your decision.
Question, magical wizard creature.
Yes.
What's your name?
Henry, welcome to Baconsale. Welcome to Baconsale, everyone. I am a wizard. Behold my wizardy ways. I send you on a quest to find.
And it ends in a wrestling match.
And it should.
Like every episode of Baconsale. You didn't have to wear a unitard during the recording, Jacob, though. It's for after.
So comfortable.
Yeah.
This is why I love verses.
Joel was pushing my buttons. You're so cute.
Thank you.
Child services should only be there when you're watching Labyrinth.
It's
Or-
only forever. A spin-off,
Joel,
if you will.
Joel. David Bowie's dead. I'm really sorry to tell you this.
So is Falkor. I was right because I had the facts and Kent didn't. That beautiful, haunting song in the ballroom scene.
You're killing me. The song about pedophilia? How much research did you do into Labyrinth?
I didn't go into the dark web, Kent. I'd like to point out that Kent is a little creepy. Just want to point that out.
Have you seen Labyrinth?
Someone's been in my room again. I hate that. I hate it. I hate you. I hate you.
I really like imagining people who haven't watched either of these, listening to you two spout this gibberish.
Why is this happening? I But why is it happening? I'm not going to Rawr! Dead.
Joel's version of NeverEnding Story is brilliant.
Listen, old people can't walk briskly anymore. There's a lot of tension there.
And he
That's
puts eggs in his drink.
Yeah, that's
He's
so
gonna get
gross,
salmonella.
right? Good job, Joel Shallow Daughter. She's pretty. Do you know who else said that? David Bowie.
Nothing, tra-la-la.
I love Jennifer Connelly.
No,
I love
apparently you
Jennifer
don't.
Connelly. But I don't love 15-year-old Jennifer Connelly, so...
It's probably better you said that.
Yes, indeed.
Aw, that's not it. Where'd she get that rubbish? It doesn't even start with I wish.
No, actually, it's the part where he eats the entire apple.
Yeah, the whole core.
What was up with that? Fight against the sadness, Artix. You have to try. You have to care.
Artix,
You're my friend. I love you.
If you record a show, Kent and I just held hands.
I'm going to bring this back to the last Airbender real quick.
I love you for that.
This has got to be a big incident, right? Like, they have got to build major robots to fight these luck dragons.
Ludo, friend. Smell bad.